inside for Albert. Albert will get the score. Fiddler, his farewell. He captain to a legend and probably rugby league immortality. That's not a try, that's a miracle.
Hey, g'day guys, welcome back to the Take the Two podcast, heading into round 14. Sowie, how are we, brother?
I'm very well. It seems like it's jumped up on us.
It's getting away from us quickly.
This period goes quickly for some, slower for others.
Are you a fast or slow guy this period?
Got to think. Been away for a couple of days. Oh, sorry. It's slow for me.
Slow?
Yeah, the footy. I've been an advocate for years. I don't know why we don't just break for 3 weeks. Play Origin, bang, bang, bang. Some internationals, if you need to fill the gap. And then you get everyone. There's guys that would be nursing injuries right now that if they had 3 weeks off, the back-end product would be sensational.
Yeah. And I think that, for me, I think the 3 days before an Origin game, the 3 days after, they go lightning quick.
Yeah.
Everything else is slow as fuck for me.
Well, and teams every year, there's a lot of conjecture right now about the draw and whether it's fair to all and who gets the back up here. And like, AOB's going one way 1 week and then the next week he's on the other side of it and Newcastle are struggling. So I don't think there's any benefit to playing the Origin period in NRL.
What were your thoughts on AOB's comments? Because, mate, I found that a little bit infuriating for me. When you're the Newcastle coach, Steel City, I just don't feel like a complaint like that after a loss, after a poor season where you're going like a fucking bastard. I just thought, internally, if you want to have the shits about it, 100% go for it. I just thought putting it out there like that and sort of putting the loss on that, like his words were, we were beaten by the schedule tonight. I hate that personally.
They didn't play Melbourne in Melbourne or North Queensland. Yeah, and with all respect to the Dragons, they'd been in a little bit of form, but I wouldn't say that they put them to the sword. I tweeted out, the draw's the draw. And what makes special, and this is why I hold finishing first, finishing top two in such high regards, is because it takes man management, luck with injuries, luck with the draw a little bit, but it takes a little bit of grit and steel in those games that, last week he didn't want to hear any excuses for Penrith when they beat Penrith without their players, and then this week it was an excuse.
Yep.
So you can't have your cake and eat it too. You need to have, and the players start to adapt to that. If they feel like there's an excuse there, they start to adapt to that. So, I tipped Newcastle to finish last at the start of the year. I apologised on this podcast 2 weeks in, maybe after the trial. I think I apologised because we saw what it could be. But now we're being proven right. They haven't changed anything in terms of their attack. That the Dylan Lucas game against Penrith was outstanding.
Yep.
Fantastic. He didn't have Liam Martin there. So didn't have Nathan Cleary there. So if you're going to say, I don't want to hear that Penrith had players, and then the next week you dish up that on a Friday night at Cogra when you should be bouncing in with a little bit of confidence. They would have come down the night before. They would have bounced in to train in that week. I just think it's an excuse. I think that there's two clubs. I was going to save it for later. There's two clubs. I think the Titans are under pressure with their coach, and I think Newcastle are under pressure, and that's not going to shock anyone. I just hope that when they do the canvassing for new coaches, that they go and have a look at some young guys out there. They have a look at guys that have done their apprenticeship. They have a look at the Dean Youngs, the Ben Hornbys, the Willie Peters over in the Super League leading with Hull KR, the Sam Burgesses. Like, one thing you said last week, I know I'm getting ahead of myself, but you said about Kempy's point about no one's scared going to Suncorp anymore. Mm-hmm. Young guys don't love the game like we love it. They couldn't tell you that in, I think it was 94, where Terry Lamb scores a try in every single game on tour. They couldn't tell you that Michael O'Connor picked one up on the half volley.
Couldn't tell you who Michael O'Connor is.
Kicked ahead. Yeah. Wally Lewis runs down and kisses him on the thing, and that's one of the best tries we've ever seen in the Ashes. Like they don't care, and that's fine. We're not asking them to care, but you can't have that old school mentality all the time and keep recycling it. You need to have young, new ideas. Look what the Bulldogs have done. Look what the Warriors have done. And yes, there are some old coaches out there that have still been able to man manage. Look what Ricky Stewart's done this year. Look what Bellamy and Bennett have done. But there also has to be a time where there has to be a changing of the guard. Young guys have got new ideas. Matt King, Matt Ballon. Like these younger guys have got lived experience where they can go back and watch some highlights on when Dean Young played. They can go back and watch Ben Hornby making a catch in the grand final, So I just hope that if there's coaching changes this year that we start to see a fresh injection of younger coaches that have done their apprenticeship. Look at what Riley's done.
Yep.
Got the tough start to the year, but now you can start to see it. Oh, okay, he's starting to almost like the Bulldogs the first year. That's my opinion.
Yeah, and I think that as well, like when you go with the young coach, as Canterbury's done, as Parramatta's done, like it's not sort of the accepted thing in the media. It's the gamble. If you go with the older coach who's been at a few clubs that might not have achieved shit, but if they experience, the media sort of goes, okay, I get it.
We'll give him runs, and you're like, well, what, like Benji, and people say, what about Benji Marshall? And you go, yeah, Benji took over a team that had won wooden spoons. Anything other than a wooden spoon this year is an improvement.
Yeah. And
that's okay. You're allowed to improve like that. But I just think Titans, Newcastle, you keep, Ponga probably wants someone with fresh ideas. If you want to keep him, and that's the noise now, is are they going to lose him? If you lost Kalen Ponga, and Dylan Brown's going there.
I've said it before, and if KP stays at Newcastle, probably the best bloke of all time, but mate, if I'm anyone close to KP, I'm saying get the fuck out of there. You've got too much career to go and you've got so much you can achieve. I honestly, I've got to the point where I hate that KP's up there.
Got something for you. I think the Knights should sign Toby Sexton.
Yep, wouldn't be opposed.
Dylan Brown is not going to be a 7. I think he's a genuine out-and-out superstar 6 that has shown that if he's got someone to get him in position, he's going to be able to have good games.
Yep.
Steer him around the park, KP, have Sexton, just steer him around the park. And I reckon if you've got enough money there, go after Reid Marnie, and Phoenix Crossland could be that spine all of a sudden doesn't look so bad if it's Marnie, Sexton, Brown and Ponga.
Yeah, and you know what? Look, I look at, a guy like Marnie, there's only a select few clubs that I think Reid Marnie would fit at. I think Newcastle's one of them.
Yeah. It go as a package deal. You know how to play together. You know the standards that you've got to drive with.
Because, for all the things that shit me about Adam O'Brien and the Newcastle Knights, defensively, they're pretty good.
Yeah.
But they hang in contests. Their just attack is just dog shit.
Yeah. But if you had Marnie out of dummy half, controlling the forward pack, Sexton, okay, he's still got some stuff to work on, and we're seeing that develop, which is why they went and got Galvin. Brown, a ball running 6, Ponga. It's not the worst spine in the world.
No, you could do much. They are doing
Phoenix
much
Crossland coming off the bench, so Marnie doesn't have to play. And Phoenix can be, you could almost adapt their style, Newcastle, where a little bit of Bulldogs, where Marnie can play 80 and Phoenix Crossland come on and be the distributor through the middle.
I like it.
Just give me a call, Newcastle. You got my number.
All right, guys. Take the 2 podcast, as always, every week, brought to you by Neds. Jump onto the app, follow along with the Guru profile and whatnot. We're taking a big swing this week, the Ozaki 8, trying to pick all 8 lines. So make sure you join us on that fun journey. Now, today, I thought today we'd mix it up a little bit. We're sort of in that period, after Origin 1 where that's done, before Origin 2, we don't have teams. So I thought we would just throw it out to you guys. We've put out a heap of questions, whether it's in the Brew Crew, on Twitter, X, whatever the fuck it's called. We put it all over the place just to get some questions. And I've got 3 that I want to dive into today. So our very first one, and mate, with you, I feel like we talk a lot about kicking, field goal setup, all that sort of stuff. I think that probably one thing we haven't touched on all that much is passing. And, I think that you were so well known for your kicking that some people almost at times forget how much of a good passer at the football you were. So I think this is a really good question. This one comes from Mitch. And look, the questions itself is a little bit all over the place, but I think the conversation off it I'm really keen to have with you. So Mitch says, do you like the big looping pass to the wingers now? Because you used to drill 3-man face balls to Brett Morris, just nice and flat pass instead of the looping one. And I think I know where you're going to go with this, and I'm keen to hear it. But I think it is something that, like, this looping pass, it hasn't come into the game. I think it's re-emerged over the last few years via Sam Walker, and I think it's a little bit different to what we've seen for a couple of years. So I think people at home have got very, very excited by it. I think it's one of those things that looks mad on highlights and all that sort of shit. What's your first reaction to that sort of question?
It was happening when I played, and I think that you learned a lot of that through touch.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, counting numbers quickly, not looking at, if you're out the back of shape, not just looking there, but also looking at 45 where you can see your centre and winger. And as soon as they turn their shoulders in and you've pre-planned or you've watched, okay, I think it was Melbourne 2010, we had a play, I can't remember who the winger was, but GI was in centre, where we had a scrum where we were going to take one to the left-hand side, Feensy come out, drop runner lead, catch to me, and Wayne said just throw it. Left to right, because they knew that the wingers had come up and in. Dell held his chalk.
Yep.
It was the anniversary that Michael Jackson died because he tried to do the moonwalk, so I remember that. So that'll be easy to find. But it was pre-planned that he turned in. Now, we got him in the first half with different shape, where they hit me early and I just threw it. I think what you're looking for is not so much of what we see now is there, and it's 7 out the back, and he's trying to work on his 1 or 2 players. Back when I was playing, sort of out the back of shape, you're sort of working on the last 3 on that 45, which is what made Darbs so good. Out the back, at pace, and getting wingers that are just looking in a little bit. I think we backed our skill of catch pass.
Yep.
And people look at the Harbour Bridge pass and they go, yeah, but for me, I reckon it was off the back of understanding during the week, okay, he likes to turn in, he wants to come in and get stuck into Gaz or Coops. So we know that if BMOS holds his chalk, we're going to be able to throw it, if that makes sense. But I just remember that game distinctly, that against Melbourne, I think the first half, the winger was like in about 10 metres, and I just caught it and threw it to Dell, like without even looking at anything else. And then the second half, it was off a scrum play. We went 1 and then we come back to the right. But it's a pass that has re-emerged as the Harbour Bridge pass.
Yeah.
I think there's 2 ways to do it. There's the Harbour Bridge pass where, I mean, the Harbour Bridge goes like that. If you're good enough, you should be able to throw it a bit flatter, and in touch you do throw it like a dart. And then there's the one out the back of shape. We don't see that so much anymore, the 3-on-2.
That's what I always thought. Darbs was a magician at
Elite.
that. Yeah.
Elite.
When you know, when you were playing Darbs back then, and he would get the ball in a 2-on-3, and if he was going to execute that pass, what's the cue he sees that goes, yep, it's on now?
Well, the left-hand side were dominant with that.
Yes.
So on our right side, it was a lot different because I didn't take the ball into the line as much. So Benny Hornby would take the ball into the line at the 4. Benny Cray would lead inside the 3. Now, this is before obstruction was a huge thing, right? So you could sometimes get away with it. But as Darbs popped out the back, he's not looking at where the centre is. He's looking at the winger the whole time. So if the winger comes up square and they both come up square together, he's got to split his vision straight at the winger to be able to see BMOS. So almost out the back where he goes like this, he catches it and he can see BMOS right there. As he goes to throw it, he's looking if that right foot and that right shoulder's turned in. If it's turned in, gone. I think, like I said before, we'd get in Mondays and go, why aren't they just like putting an extra player there and just or holding out longer? Then if they did, he had the skill to be able, and he does it in the grand final. He double pumps to get Jace Nightingale. I think he's second.
I was just
try.
about to bring up that grand final. Obviously, they had Leilua on that wing. And that's the game when I think of that looping pass that he did.
Yeah.
Just every time he got Leilua in that no man's land, just pulled the trigger immediately.
Yeah, and it's so much of it now is like here to get to here, and defenses have obviously evolved and they're a lot better. But when we were playing, it was like, okay, if you come up early, you expose yourself to the kick, which is how we got BJ and the Roosters the first time because we knew they were coming up, so we kicked early.
Yep.
Then later on, he starts to hang back a little bit, and Darbs had that great double pump where he goes right to the line, double pumps, Leilua comes in because he's panicking that Gaz is going to get it one-on-one and goes straight across the face to Gypsy, and Gypsy scores. So, but he'd be looking at that winger. And the other thing is your tempo and your pace. You can't come onto the ball flat stick. You know, Darbs was good at holding back half a step. Okay, I've got you. You know, not taking all the space. We see kids, for me right now in the women's space, and I'll speak about that because I know a lot about that space, spatial awareness and distance about how far you take the ball to the line and all that kind of stuff is a really big work on.
Yeah.
And I reckon in the male game, that's why you see a lot of teams changing angles now, is to try and get people out of position versus going and isolating those 4 defenders.
What did obviously that became, especially in Darbs' game. He arrived at the start of 2009, did he?
Yep.
With Wayne. Could you see an enormous difference from him from start of 2009 to like when you won that grand final?
I think,
Or did he always sort of have that?
I reckon he always had it.
Yeah.
It was accentuated that the left-hand side was so good at what they did. We chopped and changed. Like Bowie went from back row to centre, and then we had Matt Pryor there for a bit, and then 2009 didn't work out to be how we wanted it to be. So we get Gaz in 2010, but again, we were different. Like I was never Jonathan Thurston, take the ball deep into the line, ride a bump. I was more speed, try and get to the outside. And that's why the left side dominated. But they were so good. Benny Hornby, Benny Cray, Coops running a selfless line, beg your pardon, to be able to let Darbs throw that pass. It would have been easy for Coops to get in the lane, but they were just so automatic at what they did.
Because how much, like, had Darbs played a heap of fullback before he arrived?
I don't think he played that much.
Like, I don't remember him playing there at the Broncos. Like, when did Carmichael leave? What was that, 09 or 10?
Well, he won the comp in 06 on the wing.
Yeah.
So he may have had a little bit in 06, 07, but I think that was when they were playing Hodjo at one.
Yeah.
Like 07, 08. He may have played a little bit. But when he came to us, Darbs was... The thing that stood out to me straight away is that he loved footy.
Yeah.
And he was extremely fit. So everything else he had to work on, like in terms of his passing and all that kind of stuff, was stuff that he wanted to work on. You know what I mean? Like some kids get in and they're not fit, so they have to work on their fitness enough to be able to do it repetitively.
Yeah.
And then they don't watch enough footy, so they don't see enough looks about how you're going to pull teams apart.
Who was your fullback before Darbs? Would it have been Hornby, or had he already moved into the halves?
No, when I got there, Benny was in the halves. BMOS had played some games. Jace had played some games there. I think Grinshields had played some games there.
Yeah, right, okay.
When I got there, I think Jamos was playing fullback, actually. I think the first game I played against the Broncos, we won 11-4 at Cogra Friday night. Kicked them to death.
Isn't it crazy when you think about your team and like I think Matt Cooper's one of the better defensive centres I've ever seen. Like to think that you let Josh Morris go just a year or so before that.
Yeah.
Imagine if you, like obviously Gaz was there, one of the greats, but to think there could have been Josh Morris there as well.
Yeah.
Fucking crazy.
Crazy. And people now, Stephen Crichton, rightly so, is getting all the plaudits about his defence. Like Coops was the original best defensive centre. Like
100%.
his strength, power, knowledge, all that kind of stuff.
Remember that night he pulled that you were playing South?
Yeah. Was it Talanoa at
No. It was the back rower that played for Queensland. Chris McQueen, I think it was.
Yeah.
He was about to score and he almost grabbed him by the back of the collar. And he was like in the process of getting it down. He just ripped him off the turf.
And because he was so good at defence, underestimated how good he was at attack.
Yes.
Scored over 100 tries.
Yeah, fuck, he was a good player, Matty Cooper. All right, next question. Now, this one's from James. It says, with Sowie's coach's hat on, how would he fix the Broncos? What would you do here?
I would take them all out to dinner. I'd say, we're not training tomorrow, boys. We're going to have dinner. We're going to have a few beers. Not compulsory. If you don't drink, you don't drink. And we're going to sit around and we're going to have a chat about how we are going to fix it. I'm going to come down to your level. I've got to hear some hard truths here. I've got to hear about what we can change. Now, I don't want to hear that your training's too hard. I don't want to hear that you don't like it when we do that drill. I want to hear about how we're going to fix this together. Can we change something in our attack? Defensively, do I need to swap the back rowers over? Like something like that. And then we're going to sit down, and what I'm going to do as a coach is I'm going to rank where I think you sit in the NRL in terms of your position. So I'm going to rank where Reece Walsh sits in the top fullbacks. And I'm going to rank where Adam Reynolds sits and Ben Hunt and 1 to 30, right? And that'll take a little bit of work. And then you're going to help me see how far we are, because I guarantee that if you look at all their big name players, Huss sits number 1. Reynolds probably 5 or 6, depending on what week.
Based on this year, yeah.
Based on this year.
Could be lower, yeah.
Ezra Mam at his best is, 5'8" is not as many as what we think. Be in the top 5 or 6. Ben Hunt, when he plays hooker, he's played Origin, so he'd be in the top couple.
Yeah. Carrigan going to be up there in the
Carey going to be
13s.
in the 13s. And then we're going to look at other teams and what they have and what they're doing. You're going to look at the Raiders and you're going to go, what's different about the Raiders? Raiders don't give up. Raiders just hustle and bustle. They work together. They care, the Broncos. They're just individually at the moment trying too hard to get it done individually and not as a team. And that was no more evident than when Lehigh Hopewadi bust through the middle. Like, there would have been temptation for Michael Maguire to start Payne Haas from the bench. Just 10 minutes, get out there and rip and tear someone, and then you play the rest, right? But because he can't probably get to that stage where someone's going, like, can you imagine Michael Maguire walking in and going, let's say, for instance, you're a young forward that's playing this week, Willison, someone, walks in and goes, Madge, Payne Haas the other, I want to start this week. I want to start. I want to set the platform. I'll go, I don't know how long I can go, but I'll go for 10 or 15, maybe, I don't know, less, but I'll just give Payne, like, take Payne out. Let him come on after. Let me do it. Like, let me be the person that helps solve that. Not, oh, geez, we've got those guys. I hope those guys, like, come out and put your nuts on the line and go after it. And then you look at the 17 or the whatever rankings and you go, holy shit, we're a really good side. Yeah? Sometimes stop looking over the fence about what other people are doing or saying or how they're playing or how this. Look inside the backyard and go, boys, we've got the people here. No one outside this room's going to fix it. Let's have a beer here. Let's have a bit. You want to have a wrestle? I want to see Trent Barrett wrestle Michael Maguire. I want to see Adam Reynolds and Ben Hunt, the two old goats, just locking horns after we've had, 15 beers. And then we're going to tell each other how much we love each other. And this is going to be the night that we talk about in 5 months' time when we win the title, going, boys, that's when it started. It's like when you want to start a diet. I'll start Monday. That's the Broncos. We'll start doing it. No, just do it. Just do it. You got Tony Staggs one side, top 5, 6 centres.
On his day.
On his day. Yeah. Jesse Arthur's try-scoring freak. Like, they've got the pieces there. It's just a matter of looking from within and going, hey, we've got to do it.
I think it's an interesting point because when you go back to the first 6 weeks of the comp, like, if you would have looked at that, like, if you go back to round 1, we looked at that Broncos side.
What did I text you? About
don't
Ben
recall.
Hunt. I said, this is unfair that they've got Ben Hunt.
Yeah. Well, my point was going to be, we looked at that 1 to 13 and I said, they're all guns except 2 guys, Shibasaki and Jack Goss. And I reckon they were the 2 guys that played the best footy in the first 5 or 6 weeks. Like, guys were putting their hands up at that period. I don't know how it's gone so wrong since then.
And is it such a bad thing if we sit in that circle and they say, mate, the training's hard. We don't mind training hard, but you are going to have to alter something, along that lines of maybe 2 days out, we don't go for an hour and a half physical. Yeah, and as a coach, what I've learned being out now is, probably I was too driven on what I think is going to get them right. Not everyone thinks the same. Not everyone loves it the same as I do. There'd be guys in that Brisbane team that do not love rugby league as much as some of the other guys in the team and as much as Michael Maguire loves it. And back to our opening point here, it's okay if you have to roll with that and adapt. You can't make someone love you. All right?
So what do you think Madge does then? Does he blow it up and go and find guys that are like that, or does he need to bend?
They don't have the cap room to go up and blow it up and find guys. Look, the guys are within. You have to alter the way that you. Not everyone's the same. Not everyone is the same. Yeah, people say to me, like some of my criticism was, you have favourites. I have favourites because socially I would get on with those people differently to how in a social setting. And yes, I've got to have favourites because I've got to know that if I need to get a message through, that I can talk to you a lot differently than how I can talk to you. Right now, they're all getting talked to the same. And everyone's like, oh, I'm not on 800,000. I didn't miss any tackles. Like, it becomes like you protect yourself, right?
Yeah.
Instead of just going, this is my leadership group. Hey, boys, when we go in there today, I'm going to rip you apart, Adam Reynolds. And him going, yeah, all good. I'm going to tear you apart and you're going to stand up and we're going to, I've done it. We're going to have a little bit of a to and fro. You're going to tell me to get fucked. I'm going to tell you to get fucked. But people need to know that I'm holding you to account at that stage about that because I've let it go.
I think it's interesting. I always think back to that story. I've heard Brad Fittler tell it that when Ricky Stewart first arrived at your Roosters, like one of the first sessions, Ricky grabbed Freddie and sort of said, "Oh, I'm going to do exactly that." And he sort of said what he was going to point out to Freddie, and he sort of went, "Yeah, no, that's fair." And they went hammer and tong at it, and it just sent a message to the rest of the squad.
Where'd they finish that year?
Lifted a trophy.
Yeah.
Not bad.
You like it?
I like it. Can I ask you this? And I'm interested to hear what people think. Do you think the go out for dinner, locker room, everyone get blind, have honest conversations? Do you think that's always going to be a fix in rugby league, or do you think it's going to age out eventually?
Well, people are trying to age it out, right? They went out on a boat, and people are like, "Oh, you went out on a boat." So, you don't have to drink. I'm not saying you had to drink in that session. It's more about the relaxed environment and the conversation afterwards, because sometimes people do feel insecure. There's guys there that don't have contracts. There's guys there that do have contracts. There's guys that have been in trouble that haven't got their own form right? So it's a sense about getting together in an environment where you can let your shoulders down and you can say some stuff, and everyone's going to speak. Everyone's going to speak. That's in video sessions. I've sat in video sessions, especially at the Dragons, and poor old Ben Hunt, like, people just wait for him to, like, we go, "Righto, we're getting to this point here. What's going on with our attack here?" And like everyone would just sit there, and I'm going, "Fuck, someone say something." And then Dozer would come up and he'd have to say something all the time. Like, people don't feel comfortable talking, and that's fine. I didn't feel comfortable talking in some of those things, but as you get older, it's like you got to, because you got to know what I'm thinking out there. Like if we did it, even if they did a video together and said, "You guys are going to present to us, the coaches." We did that at Penrith. And David Fairley, we'd go in and have the 20 clips we want to choose from. We'd have 6 that we picked out, and we'd go and present to, "Hey, we need you to get across a little. We need an extra defender this week, Moiser, because they're going to be running this play." Like let the players have some of that, and the coaches maybe less talk, more listen.
So when you say you guys did that at Penrith, who was that? Is that the spine? Is that the
Left, right, middle.
left edge? Yeah, okay.
So middle would go, "Hey, stop calling extra numbers over because we've got Robbie Farah playing this week. He's going to be manipulating the ruck.
the middle, yeah.
Stop stressing about people getting to the edge. We're going to get there. Stop yelling at us. We're doing all your work." Okay, sweet. All good.
What do you do if you imagine you get into that honesty session and you just hear the polar fucking opposite of what you want to hear? What if you hear it's too hard for us?
Then he has to either knock that on the head if he starts to feel that vibe straight away, or you set the ground rules. This isn't a fucking bitch session. This isn't a what you want to do. This is how do we, not I. I think you set those boundaries quite clearly from the start.
Okay. Big job up there. All right, this question, I find this one really interesting. This one comes from Febo. With more and more players representing Tonga and Samoa from Origin teams, will the Blues or Maroons ever be better than the Kangaroo side? In my opinion, if things keep going the way they are, the answer is yes. And I kind of think it's undoubtedly yes. What are your thoughts?
Where that? I think you're heading down that path now. If you picked the New South Wales side, potentially would beat the Australian side, potentially.
I think it'd be a very good shot too, yeah.
Yeah. But the only way you're ever going to, like, Winston's going to have to simulate it on his Rugby League 4 or something to put the graphics behind it. But I don't see the big conjecture about, like, people don't understand. Tier 1 means that you've got to have your own domestic competition to be able to push in, like especially on the women's space right now. We had females representing Queensland and New South Wales last week that are going to have conversations about if they want to represent Samoa. Yep. And that has to be okay at the moment, because unless you, right now I think Tonga's tier 1 in the men's side, which is why I know Adam Fanua Blake.
Well, AFB played one game for New Zealand in the early parts of his
he's
career.
out.
That's why it's bullshit.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it is messy, but yeah, I mean, to answer the question bluntly, yes.
Yeah, I think I don't know how they're going to handle this, what they're going to do, but I think there's a very good chance, mate, that in the not too distant future, which might be 15 years, but like there's every chance you're having guys that are regulars for the Kangaroos who aren't playing Origin every year. There's genuinely like every chance that will happen.
It happens every year though that you see guys that have played for Australia before they've played Origin.
Sure, it happens occasionally, but mate, in
It's happened more the last 10 years than it has before that.
Sure, yeah, but I think there's a world in 10, 15, 20 years time where you have almost automatic selections for Kangaroos who aren't playing State of Origin. I genuinely think that you are going to have, if it stays the way it is right now, you're going to have so many players that are representing Samoa and Tonga that are automatics in State of Origin sides because they are the better players. That then when they're not available, you have to choose. Like a Tino, yeah. Like if you're
Payne Haas.
If Tino and Payne Haas, and like Tino and Payne Haas, like they're not going to be the only Tino and Payne Haases ever.
Yeah.
Like there's going to be more players like them to come. They've set a new bar, same as Webke and Seven Asiva did 20 years ago, set a new bar for everyone to chase. They're going to keep chasing it. There's going to be another guy that comes after those guys who gets to that level, if not takes to another level. Like look at wingers right now. Like if in 5 years' time we've got 3 Brian Totters to pick from, you're picking those guys every day. Great for sure. But then you're going to end up with guys getting picked for the Kangaroos who aren't playing State of Origin.
I don't think that's such a bad thing.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I just think there is going to be a huge change in the climate of the game massively. And I personally think it'd be much better. Like I love the Kangaroos. I'm always cheering on green and gold. But mate, I would love nothing more than we get to this World Cup and Samoa win the fucking thing. I'd love nothing more than it be Samoa Tonga grand final. That'd be fucking unreal.
Samoa and the women's as well. That'd be great.
That would be great. I'm heavily invested in that one too. Don't worry. But mate, being out there, watching the Kangaroos and Tonga in that Pacific Chance final, I was out there last year. Like fuck, I'm going for Tonga. I want Tonga to fucking win. I want to see it. I want to see history. I want to see rugby league start to build itself up and people, blow about. Go for Australia.
It would change. When they first beat Australia, it changed the international landscape, right? For Fida and
fucking oath it did.
And Tamalolo.
Yep.
Going in and getting...
And it changed it for the better. I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
It changed it for the better.
But to answer the question, yes, that would be...
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really interesting watch in how they... What would you do with State of Origin? Do you just make it like...
I don't think there's anything wrong with it the way it is right now.
So you're okay with Tongan and Samoan players being able to play in it, but like Kiwis can't?
Well, Kiwis are in the national competition. So that if they're New Zealand, they're the number 2 in the world. So that it's a little bit different. Yeah, they've had the stability.
Okay, right now they're number 2.
They've had the infrastructure. They've been around longer on the international scene. Samoa and when was the last time that Samoa beat Australia?
Okay, but then on the flip side of that, if I'm New Zealand, I'm pretty filthy that I've now got players that I'm losing that aren't playing for the Kiwis.
I don't think that New Zealand players would want to play State of Origin if it meant they couldn't play for New Zealand.
Yeah, but that's kind of what I'm saying, right? Like I think if they were able to play State of Origin, they would. Like I've heard. Like,
do you think it'll get to England? Like,
how can it not? Like, if I'm New Zealand right now, I'm sitting there going, "Fuck this." Our players, if they play for us, they can't play State of Origin. But if they choose to play for Samoa or Tonga, which a lot of them have chose to do, they can play State of Origin as well at the same time.
Yeah, well, you just open it up then, don't you?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
To be honest, I mean, you're looking at me on YouTube. I don't go to sleep at night thinking about this subject.
Nor do I, but it's it's a big talking point now, and over the next 10 years, it's going to become an even.
We'll just open it up then. The best play the best.
Open it up to everyone.
The best play the best. Traditionalists will hate it. It's okay. Just open
for
it
sure.
up.
Yeah.
Well, is that the way?
I personally think that's what has to be done, and I know that traditionalists will hate that.
Okay, so in short, for the international space to stay as strong as it can be, you have to open it up because you should be able to play.
Mate, I think for Origin to stay as strong as it is, you need to open it up. I don't think it's the inverse. I think for Origin to keep up, you need to open it up. Realistically.
Great question. Who's that?
Cracking question. It's from Fucking everyone.
We got deep there. I was at a roundabout in the Chandelier, just, I don't know, looking up somewhere.
Oh, that's unreal. Winst, we've got you in today, brother. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. Obviously, just excited for the Bulldogs to be back playing footy this weekend. I haven't played in like nearly 3 weeks, so
Yeah.
I'm just keen for some rugby league.
You got any new players or what?
Don't start me. I don't think we have time for me to go into all that.
I
But
kind of want to
Can I ask, Winston, his social media is very good, right?
good at what
Passionate
he
Dogs
does.
fan,
Yep.
okay? He's very good at what he does. Devil's advocate here. If on Monday, Galvin comes on and Parramatta beat the Bulldogs, what's the fan base going to be like? From your feeling?
I'm already worried about what it's going to be. Like, hypothetically, because Gavin's been named in the 23, right? And Gus has said if he plays, it's only going to be off the bench. He's going to be debuting for the Bulldogs in front of 60,000 people at Accor Stadium playing against the team that he rejected. So he's already going to have half that stadium booing him when he gets up off that bench. Plus, I think there's a sizable chunk of Bulldog fans that aren't happy with him there. So they're going to be off him, and he's going to get up off the bench, and he's probably going to get booed onto the field. And I'm like, what does that do for his confidence?
You know what my bigger concern is with Galvin this week? My concern is that he comes off the bench, and I think all Galvin has known in rugby league is get the ball in your hands and do something. That's all he's had to do. That's all he knows. Now he's coming into the team coming first. He's got to fit into a system. Now, I hope I'm wrong, Winst, and I'd be stoked if I was wrong, but I feel like if he comes on 20 minutes to go in that game, he just does his job, fits into the system. I think a lot of Bulldogs fans are going, he fucking did nothing. He didn't do anything in the game. If I see Galvin come on and try and push an offload, chip over the top, do something very Galvin Tigers, that's going to piss me off, and I think it'll piss off people that understand rugby league, but I think a lot of the fans will expect Galvin to do something, or what was the fucking point of having you? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think I haven't looked at the team. I might be wrong, but I reckon that Haywood and Galvin will come on at the same time. So I reckon Sexton will get the first sort of half an hour. And I reckon once Haywood comes on, maybe even 40-40 split.
I don't know. You reckon they're going to start Sexton at 7 and bring Galvin on at 7 at some point, and it could be a 40-40 split?
Potentially. I think if the game's going the right way, it depends on how the game's going. If they're down and it's 12-6, I don't reckon Serrato changes it right until the end.
But what if they're up by like 12 or 18 points? Then does Sexton just stay on and Gavin
Toby,
just rides the
sorry,
bench?
mate. Yep. You're coming on because I've thought deeply about this. The only way I reckon that he makes a smooth transition into 7, and he's supremely talented, is if Bailey Haywood becomes your centrepiece and your organiser through the middle. That way you don't need an organising 7. Mm-hmm. He's so good at what he does, getting people in position. You've got 2 big ball runners either side. And the other thing that we're not talking about is defensively, he's going onto that right edge. Who's beside him? Oh, the best centre in the world defensively.
Yeah.
So
And Jacob Preston.
Preston.
Yeah.
So he's got 2 bodyguards there that are going to say, hey, mate, stay in. Nah, go get it out the back. Like 2 great communicators. Yeah, Origin level. One's, the best at what he does. If they're up by 12 or 18, maybe he gets 5 minutes in the second half, Sexton, and then Galvin comes on. I reckon this will happen very quickly.
I agree with that. I think privately, I think Serrato and Gus would be more than happy in this game to be down by 10 or 12 points and have a reason to make the change.
Yeah. And
if they go on to then win that game once he's on the field, even if he doesn't do anything, they go on to win that game, it changes the narrative completely.
If he's not a 7 right now, there's not a difference between him and Sexton as a 7. Like there's not like a huge gap where you go, Toby excels at that and he's doing that. Galvin can't do that. Galvin could come in and do that.
Yeah, I think that I don't think Galvin is a 7, but I think he's a lot closer to a 7 than what people are acting like.
Yeah, but he's got Marnie at 9 controlling it, Burton the other side, Crichton talking to him about where to be, Connor Tracy, well, everyone loves Connor Tracy. So he's got enough protection there to go, hey, mate, yeah. And if he does throw that offload and guess what? Crichton's going to be there clipping him over the ear.
Wins 10 minutes into the second half. It's 12-all. Sexton comes off for Galvin. How are you feeling at that point?
Well, like I've been very vocal this week of like, you just got to support him. Like being upset that we've signed him, whether you like it or not, isn't going to
Why are
make
they
Gus
upset?
Gould just
Why are you upset
unreverse
that you
it.
signed him that?
There's Bulldog fans that they're just comfortable with Toby Sexton at 7 and Marnie at 9, and then all the, the rumors come out about, obviously Sexton's going to be moving on, and then the Reid Marnie stuff. And I think a lot of the fans' opinion is, if it's going so well and you're 9 and 12 at the top of the ladder, why change things? Where I feel like Gus and Serrato have gone, we're 9 and 12 at the top of the ladder, but we're still a little bit short of winning a comp. Let's make a move now to, almost go all in. And it's like, we're going to bring Gavin in and we're either going to win the comp, or worst case scenario, we win a comp down the road with Gavin in a couple of years. But I think fans are sort of like, it was going so good, so I change it.
I think subconsciously they're a fan base that has been hurt so much that I think they're scared of.
That's right.
Yeah,
shit
that's
in the
fair as
bed
well.
when they're doing well.
Yeah,
But-
they've had a lot of ex-girlfriends that have treated them badly. This girlfriend's treating them nicely, and they're like, I can't believe this is real.
Yeah.
And what she wants to get? She's going to pay for dinner. Yeah, let's just let it happen, Bulldogs fans. Enjoy it.
Yeah.
He was on the market. If he had gone to Para, you'd all be bloody bitching and moaning. Oh, I can't believe we didn't get him. Oh, we should have got him. We just enjoy it. Enjoy the moment. Enjoy getting Lockie Gavin.
I think as well, when you look at Bulldogs history, the Canterbury Bulldogs have never been a club that is happy with good enough. They want to fucking win comps. That's what the Canterbury Bulldogs
it's
are. That's
21
what they've always
years.
been. Yeah, it's been way too fucking long. Yeah, I've said it all last 2 years. Like, I don't think they can win a comp with Sexton and Trace. I think they need to upgrade one of them. I think they have upgraded one of them.
Yeah. Enjoy it. Let her pay for dinner.
For dinner. Oh, that's good.
But yeah, at the end of the day, I feel like if Dogs go out and win on Monday, that just solves everything. I think
Solves everything. You're first.
I know, but in terms of like,
No, I think it quietens a lot of noise if they go out and win with him.
like in
It
terms of
quietens
like
a lot
fans,
unfair noise.
fans aren't going to be blowing up
From their
about
fan
Gavin
base.
if they
Mate,
win.
he could go out there and on the weekend they could lose and he not play well. He's going to be front and centre. He could go out there and have a try assist and they win. He's going to be front and centre. Either way, Tuesday morning there will be a Lockie Galvin headline at some stage. All right, just relax. He's 19. Let the kid go out there and just play. Whether he wins or loses, you haven't bought him for one game or you haven't bought him for 1 year to come in and like tip you over this year. You bought him for the next 10 years.
Yeah, 100%.
So you're stuck with him for 10 years.
And I agree with you, but I think the logic of a lot of fans out there is going to be a lot more short term because they're successful.
Well,
right
it's not
now.
like I have heaps of Bulldogs fans anyway. So whatever.
I hope Lockie Gavin goes out there and we're down by like 4 points. Sorry,
I
up by 4
hope
points.
we're losing.
No.
Bulldogs fans, I hope we're losing so we can bring someone else on.
No, I was going to
Please.
say, I hope we're up by 4 points and then Eels run away with a huge, runaway try, but Gavin takes a dive and just wins it for us.
The
You
field
are a
goal setup
wanker.
was good there. I didn't mind that.
You are
That's
a
good.
wanker. You had me. I took the dummy. Greg Eastwood. Mate, please.
All right. Any more bones to fight over? Or are we good?
No, we're good.
We're good. Getting to our weekly preview. Wince, do you want to take us through the games, brother?
Yep. So Thursday night, Knights Manly 97 grand final rematch. This one's at Newcastle at 7:50.
What about Knights Social this week? Put up this thing, the 97, and mate, the fucking fans just hammered him in the comments. Absolutely fucking gave it to him. Christ, I hope they get up for it this week. Knights at 285, Manly $1.42 on Neds. I look at this. DCE's playing for an Origin jersey. If I'm DCE, I'm telling Olakawatu he's playing for an Origin jersey. I think that the Knights without Leo Thompson, Jacob Saifidi still out, Adam Elliott still out, they're missing too many middles. I think Manly go up there and get the job done here. What are your thoughts, mate?
Totally agree. Big watch on Callum Ponga in that game and how he, at some stage, yes, you've got to be waiting to get the ball, but at some stage you've got to get the ball as well. So I'll be watching him, hoping that he gets the ball a lot. I've got Manly and I've got Lehigh Hopewadi just to be sensational.
I thought it was interesting. I'm not going to dig the boot into Adam O'Brien again, but he did say in that game, because of the scheduling, I was forced to rest KP. He wanted to play. I told him not to. He's got the shits with me about it. If I've got a KP that wants to play, I think I just let him go to send a message to the rest
Well,
of the
that
team.
was off the basis that Bradman Best tore his hammy last year when he wanted to play.
Yeah.
I think KP's got a little bit of a niggle in the ankle, which ankles are ankles. They're always going to be pretty shit. So, I don't think that's how that combo went.
What do you mean?
I would struggle to find if KP says, look where we are on the ladder. I want to play tonight. I need to get Wednesday night out of my head. I need to get back in the game. That someone says no.
If I was to open a betting market of who would potentially say no, I think it might be the Newcastle coach. I hope I'm wrong on that.
So
but
do I.
Fucking weird thing for him to make up in a press conference.
Yeah.
Anyway, Manly for me. Next
Manly.
one.
Yep.
Storm Cowboys at Amy Park on Friday, 6 p.m.
Cowboys, they're out to $4.60. The Melbourne Storm, $1.20. I think the Melbourne Storm will win this one. I think the Cowboys are given a 15.5 start at the moment, which I think there's going to be a little bit of rain out there. I don't think Harry Grant's at 100% yet. Obviously, they've picked Bronson Garlick on the bench still, so I don't mind the Cowboys with the start, but I think Melbourne will win this one. What are your thoughts?
Go back and watch the 2015 prelim final.
I watched it last night. You saw it on socials? Mate, some of the meat pies in
glaze everywhere while I was watching that. God, that was a good game. Melbourne for me.
Cooper Cronk to Tohu, close to the line. JT put
JT, a little
that
selling
pills at
candy.
Justin O'Neill. Did you see that?
Selling candy.
Oh, Melbourne for
God,
me.
that's good.
Cowboys with the line. Winst.
Dolphins, Dragons, Friday, 8 p.m. at Suncorp Stadium.
Dolphins at $1.55, Dragons $2.45. I personally think the Dolphins win this. I think they win well in this one. What do you reckon?
This is a game they should win, and they'll need to win if they're going to make the 8. I think the thing that scares me is every time we've looked at one of these games for the Dolphins, they've come out and shit the bed. They'll need to get off to a fast start. The Dragons last week weren't clinical. They won against a side I reckon that they should have beaten.
Yep.
They're going to need to be better. I didn't mind the swap, Kyle Flanagan going into 7. I thought that sort of worked for him a little bit.
Completely
even
agree.
that's a number. But you look at who the best player on the field. I mean, Gutho would be in there saying, boys, we were here 2 weeks ago. We can get it done. It's a ground we like playing at. Versus the Dolphins, pressure's on them because they need to win, but we all know how big a fan we are here on Qatar.
I'm also a huge fan of Jeremy Marshall King and Max Plath. If they get one of them back, both on the extended, if they get 2 of them back.
I'll go Dolphins.
Yeah, I think the Dolphins win that one. Just quickly on the Dragons, Sloan dropped for Lawson. A decision I actually agree with. I think that Sloan's just had a few errors this year that I'd be giving him a bit of time. I like the look of Lawson early. I thought it was interesting with Lawson too. As soon as they picked him, he had an activation in his contract that he was part of the top 30. So obviously must have a lot of confidence in him to make that decision. What was your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I think Sloaney's had glimpses this year showing that he's an NRL player. I just think defensively, Flano's got a standard. Yep. And if you're not meeting that standard and they've got a guy like Lawson played great last week.
Yes.
Tuipulotu, bigger carries out of the back of the field. They're probably, you can't have Gutho being the main meter eater at the back of the field. You need those guys to take some pressure off Gutho so he can do what he can do. So I think Sloaney will be fine, mate. He scored tries this year, but defensively I reckon he'd be wanting a little bit more, I guess, decision-making, but also those ones where you get the decision wrong, but you stop it. Yeah, that's what, at the end of the day, defense, you can have the best defensive systems, but the teams that win are the teams that are able to just stop it.
I also think just Sloan's credit, and he's not turned into, prime Zach Lomax or anything, but I think I had question marks over him last year about him if he was happy to really throw himself into contact. I think that has shifted a bit this year.
Yeah, I noticed he had his elbow heavily strapped last week, so he might be just a bit...
He might, yeah. But I think, mate...
Not at the end of his run, but in terms of switching back to where he has to have those carries, he might be a little bit busted too.
Yeah, he might be. Yeah, because I think he has worn his heart on his sleeve this year. He's going after it. Cracker coming up. Wins, talk to me.
Sharks, Warriors, little bit of a top of the table clash. This one's at Shark Park, 5:30 Saturday.
Can I stop? Can we start flexing these games? You know what I mean?
Well, you're not happy with 5:30 Saturday?
7:30.
You got the Broncos and the Titans.
Look at the 7:30 game. Can we not 3 weeks out just go bring Sharks, Warriors, boys? We're going to swap you to 7:30. We want you prime time. Broncos Titans, we're going to push you up a little bit. Just every now and then. I'm not saying every week.
They do it in American sports,
American
don't they?
sports, they do it. I think they can do it a month out on NFL. They flex them from Sunday night football and Monday night football. Or not Monday night, but Sunday night. They can change the time slots. Can we not flex this game to 7:30?
I think the broadcast deal is about as flexible as I am, which is not fucking much. So don't hold your breath.
Something
there.
for the future, though. Is it
Something for
that
the future.
far-fetched?
And if you are going to be flexible, I'd be shifting Raiders South Sydney up to Saturday night as well. And I think you play Broncos Titans maybe 11 a.m. Sunday, something like that, mate. Because it's Queenslanders, you just don't get it at the
The
moment.
old
Just in all
Jersey
sorts.
Fleet schedule. You look in, it's like 10 a.m. You're like, what, 10
You can
a.m.?
open the gate as you arrive.
I have to have me spaghetti at 6. Sorry. Sharks Warriors.
Sharks Warriors, Wars 265, Sharks $1.48. I like the Warriors in this one. I think 265 on Neds is great value. I think you get about a 6.5 start there. I like the Warriors in this one. This is the sort of game that I always look at and go, this is the moment where the Sharks prove themselves, show themselves. They've lost enough of these for me to just back in the best defensive side in this game at the moment, which is the Warriors. Barnett out. I think these young guys are really starting to come of age. Jackson Ford, I don't think he's made an error in about 4 weeks, which is all we ever needed from Ford. I think the Wires get the job done here. What do you reckon?
I'm going for the Sharks off the back of the bye. I think they'd be filthy how they played against the Roosters.
They would be,
Plus,
yep.
they're back at home where they had that good win over Melbourne. No Barnett for the Warriors. Katoa back for the Sharks as well. I just think that this is a game that potentially we see in a couple of months' time in a big moment, whether it be in New Zealand or at Cronulla. This is the game for me. For everything you said, yeah, I agree. I'm going the other way. I think this is where the Sharks and the Warriors have been up for a little while.
Yep.
In terms of, I mean, everyone's got to be up every week, but they've been up. They've had some tight games. They've had some big wins on the road. Last week, 36-30, emotional, all that kind of stuff. I got the Sharks.
Yeah, I think the Sharkies too that has me a little bit concerned. I think that the Warriors will show up. I think that I think this will be a close game, and it's games like this for the Sharkies that I think not having Mulatalo, just that energy that he brings to this side, I think he could be a big loss in this game.
Yeah, agree. But I just think the Sharks, that Roosters game, they looked like they needed a break. Don't forget, they've had a lot of travel as well. So I reckon they bounce back.
Warriors going into a bye next week too. This will be a cracker. I'm looking forward to this one. Next one. What do we got, Winst?
As we just said, primetime 7:30 Saturday, Broncos Titans at Suncorp Stadium.
Oh boy, Titans for me. I think I'll get the job done.
I knew you'd say that.
AJ Brimson, they're challenging his 11-day stand down, which means he'll play, from what history tells us.
No, I got told he won't be able to play.
Really? Where'd you hear that?
Well, I heard it yesterday on a radio show, actually.
Okay.
They can't, you can't challenge. The brain doesn't know that it's been
They've done it
10
heaps.
days. I don't think, I reckon there's a stance. There'll be a line in the sand. I don't think he'll play.
I think he will. We'll see though. We'll fight this out next week. Regardless, even if you take
Fight it
Brimson
out, please. At 6:30 when the team list comes out, one of us will be abusing the other person.
I don't like the optics I'm seeing out of Brisbane. I don't like, jumping on social media this week and all the crap. I just think there's a lot of distractions going on, and Titans, I think they would see a really good opportunity here to stick one up, big brother, and I think they will. $3.20. I think you can get them with a 10.5 start. I've tripled that on about even. I like the Titans this week with that start. It's great. What do you reckon?
Game 300 for me for Adam Reynolds. Congratulations. What a competitor. Premiership winner with Souths. If they were ever to get up and get going, it was this. It's this game here. I think Broncos for me.
Next one.
This should be a cracker. Raiders Souths in Canberra, Sunday 2 p.m. Souths wearing those heritage jerseys as well, the World
The old
Sevens
cannon
ones, so-
jerseys.
The white ones.
Yeah, and the old cannons.
They are very nice.
They're mad. I love them. South Sydney at $2.95. Raiders $1.40. Josh Papali'i's, I think, is his 319th, which makes him the highest capped Raider. What an achievement for the way that he plays the game and the way he goes about it. For him to be the highest capped Raider, like the guys that have gone through that club and whatnot, such a special achievement. So shout out to Josh. You ever had much to do with him?
I saw him once after Origin, I think 2017, when I went up there and watched, and he said hello, picked me up like a little baby, and just gave me a big cuddle. One of the real good guys of the NRL that's been through their troubles, but
Yep.
felt like that Ricky Stewart, I think that relationship, that he's been able to challenge him, get him up different ways, bring him off the bench, start him, all that kind of stuff, and get him to this point. What a fantastic player for that club. They do not lose on the weekend.
Yeah. If I was walking down a street and you told me there was every NRL player in there, and if I had to bet on one that would shake my hand and ask me how I was, it'd be him. He does every single time, and everyone I talk to feels the exact same way about him. He is just, I love Josh, an absolute champion player and a champion bloke too.
They have the bye next week. Guess what? Boys, let's rip and tear. We're off to Mooseheads tonight.
I think the Raiders win in a very tight affair. I think South Sydney will be pretty good in this one. I like South Sydney with a start. I think you get about 8.5. Cody Walker back in, Jack Whiten back at centre. Ty Munro's in reserve grade. I wouldn't be shocked if he comes onto the wing for Isaiah Tass. I thought it was interesting. Jai Gray and Bud Sullivan. Gone for Bud Sullivan at 14. Jai Gray has been named at fullback for reserve grade this week. Wild that South Sydney, Jai Gray was leading the Dally M's 6 weeks ago. Big call.
Not a bad thing. I think Bud gives them a bit more flexibility in and around if they lose a half.
Yep.
He's a genuine half. And to be fair, Bud's earned his position.
Yep.
Plus he can play 9, and defensively they're going to have to be good against that middle for the Raiders.
Well, that was going to be the next thing I was going to say. I love Jai off the bench, but as long as Mamazelis is out and you do need another hooker, I think Jai at hooker hasn't really worked.
No, it hasn't.
I haven't liked the look of it, so I'd rather Bud there for that. So
Yeah, you're not going down there to beat the Raiders 36-30.
yeah.
They're going to be
If
good
Mamazelis
defensively.
was there and the option of 14 is Jai Gray, Bud, and Havili, I'd probably go with Jai Gray there. But I just think if you're going to have Havili as your 9, you need another guy. I think Bud's the best choice.
I'm going the opposite to you. I think the Raiders blow them off the park.
Nah, I don't think they'll blow them out. I reckon, mate, they haven't got a great history of milestone games, do the Raiders? Fuck, I tell you what, I remember going down there for the Jared Croker 300. I had Jared Croker's head on my fucking T-shirt. I think the Wasps put 44 on them. It was wild. Have I got the right game wins?
Yeah, I'll
They blew
double
'em
check
away.
that. But
Sean
that
Johnson
rings
took
a
an
bell.
intercept 3 metres
that's
out. It was fucking chaos down there. Mooseheads was a quiet joint that night, let me tell you. I'm going to take the Raiders in a tight one. I like South Sydney with a start, though. Wins the Jerome Luai Cup.
Yeah, I was about to say, this will be a cracker with Luai playing against the Panthers for the first time, Sunday 4 p.m. at Combank Stadium.
Panthers at $1.33 on Neds. The Tigers out to $3.35. I believe Jerome Luai has been ill this week. They believe he will play this weekend, though. I like the Panthers in this one, but I think it'll be a little bit tighter than what the market says there.
Yeah, agree. I'm calling this game for 2GB, actually. I'm really excited. Penrith last week, I mean, we didn't even cover it because people probably expected it, but Nathan Cleary's kicking game was...
Talk to me about that 40-20 quickly.
He set Iongi up the whole game. Yeah. He kept pumping it long. He kicked early in the first half, found the ground. To be able to pull off that skill in that moment,
Yep.
it just shows how great he is. That banana, Iongi had been so deep. He was about 15 metres behind the 20-metre line because they'd been pumping it long. And I thought the variation in Nathan's game last week was the best I've seen this year.
I thought it was the second best 40-20 of the weekend.
Oh.
Nick Nacko and Paddy Whack.
Oh, God. Thank
Strap
God.
yourself in, my friend.
Yeah, I know. I'll see
Strap
one more
yourself
thing.
in.
Oh, goodness. It's going to be like that team in that scene in Team America with you, with bloody you and Owen Paddy. We'll have to get him on the pod.
He's a Queenslander. He's not coming in here. No way.
Panthers for me, I don't think the gap is as big as what the markets would suggest.
Yep.
They weren't great last week, Penrith, but I think that could be a relieving win where they kick on with it now. Pressure on West Tigers. They need to start winning again soon, otherwise they go into the Bowl Cup again.
What do you take out of that game last week for the Tigers? 2 sin bins, they lose by 4, they concede 32. I think that game, we said it on Blake the other day, you can take so many positives, you can take so many negatives, however you want to look at it. How do you look at that game?
I didn't watch it, so I'm not going to go deep diving into it, but I just think that when you lose a game like that, it hurts more because you have got the points there.
Yeah.
And some of the stuff that you do in the first, that's why when you give away penalties or sin bins and it's early on, like it can have an effect with you later on. So, exactly how you summed it up. There's good parts, bad parts, but at the end of the day, you didn't get the 2 points.
Yeah. Last game wins?
Bulldogs, Eels, King's birthday, Max King's birthday, Accor Stadium, 4 p.m.
You're a dickhead. Canterbury favourites, $1.40. Parramatta Eels, $2.95 on Neds. Upset for me. I think the Parramatta Eels get the job done here. What do you reckon?
Bulldogs win. They're off the bye. Going into Origin camp next week. Galvin. I just didn't see enough from the Eels last week. And what worried me was Moses had that groin complaint late in the game. And when the game was in the balance, I think that they were just short. Jack Williams was sensational last week.
Yep.
I just think they were just short on helping get down there and ice those moments and the variation in the kicking game. Like they tried to stick to the plan, but there was times there where they just didn't have to stick to the plan. They had to go after it a little bit. That worries me because the Bulldogs will stick to it.
Yeah.
I think Bulldogs win comfortably.
Yeah, I've got a feeling about the Eels this week. I just think there's a lot going on at Canterbury. I reckon they might get them. Mate, what about next Origin game? Blues are at $1.36.
Scares me.
Yeah, it's a wounded Queenslander always fucking scares me.
Scares me.
$3.10.
Yeah, scares me. The thing, everyone looks at the markets all the time and thinks that they know it's Origin.
Yeah.
You could literally have them $1.90 every time, and you're going to get both those teams come out and play, and they will be better. And don't be surprised if it's left a little bit differently. A little bit closer in terms of back to the old 7 metres in Origin instead of 15 or whatever it was the other night.
Yeah, very fair. Guys, on Neds this week, I've got my bet to follow. I am walking the line on about even. So I've got...
You Johnny Cash?
I'm Johnny Cashing. Yeah, the Azaki 8 we call it. Shout out to Sebo, one of the funniest fuckers of all time. I've got the Manly Seagulls minus 7.5 against the Newcastle Knights. I'm taking the Cowboys plus 15.5 against the Melbourne Storm. I'm taking the Dolphins minus 5.5. The Warriors plus 6.5. The Titans, they're giving them plus 10.5. I will take that against Brisbane. South Sydney, I believe it's plus 8.5 in that game. And then I'm also going to take the Tigers. I'm a little bit nervous about this one. I'm going to take the plus on them. And then Parramatta, I think they're given 6 or 8 points. I'm going to take that as well. You're getting about $169 or something for that. So we're chasing big time this week, mate. Do you trust me?
Of course I do.
Do you believe in me?
I believe in you.
I don't believe in
I
me.
want it to happen because I want the glaze.
You want the shit fuckery that comes with it.
comes with it.
Yeah.
I love your socials when it comes with it.
Yeah, they don't come often, but when they do.
You've been a bit quiet in there about even. The boys, Tom and Eddie have been giving you.
Yeah, I'm struggling. Okay. Yeah. When I win, I let people know about it, but it's a bit of a mirage to what's actually occurring. So the boys are in Bali and Hawaii as we speak.
Looks awful.
Yeah, it looks dreadful. So yeah, whilst they're out, I'm going to try and wrangle in a little bit. Well, I mean, if I get
They made the footy show last week.
They did, yeah. Oh, that reminds me. Fuck, I completely forgot. Now, I know what you're probably thinking at home. Oh, yeah, the Take the Two podcast. It's good. Is it going places? I say yes. And I'll tell you what, we've got a new listener that's tuning into the show now, which I absolutely love. You might have heard of him. His name's Andrew John.
They look like hung monkeys.
So they're talking about Hello Sport.
Talking about when you're upstairs and it sounded different.
Oh, yes. You know who else made a comment like that? Jamie Soward, one of the great kickers.
Did he?
He even said the ball sounded different.
So there we go. Joey, thanks for tuning in for another week, mate. We appreciate it.
Joey, imagine me and Joey just talking about footy, like the ball coming off your boot.
I'm going to use one of your sayings. Who says no first? Who walks out first?
Joey's
gotta be Joey, right?
I don't even. Yeah, if I said, "Hey, Joey, you want to come on and talk about just kicking and man, you're getting deep into the dungeons of just kicking and shape and all this kind of stuff," he'd go, "Mate, who's this again?" I go, "Jamie Soward. I had your boots once."
Oh, I love that. How bloody good. You know what I love about you though? Former player, one comp, already done it all. I love that still gets you excited.
Oh,
I froth that shit. I absolutely
more than
froth
excited
that
because no
shit.
one sent it to me. I had no idea. When you said, "Oh, I've got a video about you, Joey," and I said, "Oh, has he bagged me or something?" Like I had no idea, but I'm very excited about that. Yeah, that's
the king. How bloody good. All right. Anything else you want to chuck in there, mate?
No, mate. No, I think this is starting to get moving time for a couple of these teams. You know, we've spoken about how close the competition is, and it's been great, but you just feel like that something has to give with some of these teams if they are to go on a run. And Brisbane are one of those big watches this weekend.
Score prediction for Monday, Winst. What are you thinking?
I reckon Dogs in a tight one by by a try, so 4 or 6. I'll go Dogs by 4, nice and tight.
I'll go Para by 4.
Dogs 32, Para 10.
I really hope so.
Wow, huge. All right, guys, thanks for joining us once again. Make sure you jump onto the Neds app, follow along with all the bets for the rest of the season on About Even and whatnot. All the boys on there doing great things. More pots to come in the future as well. Make sure you jump in on those. And we'll see you next week on the Take the 2 podcast.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website